Welcome to another Boom or Bust Editorial. I'm your host, Terry. Today I'm talking about Colin Kaepernick and the Nike Just Do It ad. So, this was one that I wasn't originally planning on talking about. And then, of course, by the time you can tell, I still was going back and forth. I definitely had some thoughts on it. But I was like, I don't know if I really want to talk about it, but hey, decided, yeah, might as well. The more I hear about it and the more I see it, I'm like, definitely have my own 2 cents about it. So, a couple of different points. I don't want to jump all over the place, but let's just start here. Let's just start at the root of this because that's the whole thing that everybody's talking about. It was, this idea that, Colin Kaepernick kind of taking the knee during the anthem caused this whole backlash in this community that affected the business of the NFL, which led to him not getting a job, all that. And it seemed like it was just kind of over. No one really cared. But then Colin Kaepernick, gets this ad campaign with Nike. So, important distinction is that he was already a Nike athlete. People, are seeming like Nike went out and just brought him in. He was already a Nike athlete, from his time as a player. He just signed on to do this particular ad campaign that comes with, this clothing line and all that. So he was already affiliated with Nike. And so Nike decided to, put him, in the front of this, 30th anniversary campaign for the slogan, Just Do It. So, anyway, back to the anthem thing. It was this whole idea that all these people got upset about him disrespecting the anthem or being anti-America, blah, blah, blah. And that is completely opposite of what was going on. The anthem and kind of the values it represent do have something to play into it, but it was mainly a demonstration to garner attention to the issue of police brutality against minorities and all that. And it, to me, it would seem that after so much discourse about it, people would start to understand, like logical people would understand, okay, it's not like, for whatever reason, a lot of people thought, oh, he just is saying, I hate the anthem, which is silly. And if you gave him any 2 seconds to listen to what he was saying, that's not the case. And so after, some time, I figured logical people figure that out. Then the Nike ad comes out, or the news about the Nike ad, and people go crazy again. And to me, it's just like, after being on the internet for a while, realized, and people got to realize too, that we assume people are logical and that there are a lot of smart people. There are not a lot of smart people out in the world, and let alone online. And so not everybody is logical. Not everybody, is open-minded. And so you got some people, especially when it comes to the internet, that just are not logical and won't ever think clearly. So people are still boycotting Kaepernick, and now they want to boycott Nike because he's on the ad, even though he was already a Nike athlete. So let's start here, cause there's a couple points, cause I don't really like both sides of the extreme. Like, of course, the people burning their Nike products and all that, they're ridiculous. The people like, oh, I love Nike now, I'm all Nike all day, they're ridiculous too. Truth's always in the middle somewhere, and you should never, jump on a bandwagon on an extreme level. So you got people that are burning Nike products, and it's been said, and it's logical to understand that you already paid Nike. They got your money. You can do what you want to them products. Then, of course, people are like, oh, well, it's a symbol. Okay, whatever. Cool. You still paid them. And then if you went and got stuff to, and is this not a joke? I've seen people, not just with Nike, but with other silly protests, people go out and buy stuff just to destroy. Okay. Now you really don't understand the concept of what you're doing. So there's that. And then you got the extreme side of people, like I said, that are supporting Nike just because of Colin Kaepernick, as if this one business decision that they made is the only thing that they do. Like, they have a bunch of other decisions they make about a bunch of other people, and not all of them are progressive or the right thing. There's a lot of things that Nike is into that you probably wouldn't support. And so blindly saying, oh, I support Nike just because of this is absolutely silly too. So there's that. But talking about Nike and why they did it, Nike, to me, I would say this. There's some people that say Nike is super courageous and like, you know, a hero. There's some people that says Nike is just trying to make money. I think it's both, because yes, it's a marketing move. You're not going to do this if you think you're going to absolutely lose money. Nike can, they can read the market and the society and the climate and understand that making this move is going to make them look popular, especially in the long run. And a lot of people brought up Muhammad Ali and him boycotting the war, and how in hindsight that is nothing but positive. He's a hero, but at the time he was just you know, a public figure of ridicule. And so the same thing with Kaepernick to an extent, where there's no scenario where history looks at this as a bad thing. You could be as passionate as you want against Kaepernick, but you're not going to look right. You're going to be like, especially today where everything, people want to make it black and white, good and wrong, or good and bad, right and wrong. You're going to be on the wrong side of history, as they say. And so Nike understands that even for like a week, a month, maybe even 6 months, they might get a hit. But in the long run, this is going to make them look like the hero. And they've done that. That's their history of kind of supporting that underdog to capitalize off it. And some people like being upset about it. And I see some people, they exploiting Kaepernick, blah, blah. They're a business. they exist to make money. So I'm never going to hold it against a business for making a business decision. Now, the one thing I will say though, it is still gutsy. It's not courageous. They're not a hero, but it still, you know, takes some type of fortitude to do it, because you're not only just saying, hey, Kaepernick, come be the face of our, you know, campaign. You're also putting money into it. So Kaepernick gets $30 million for this, and you're paying, that's a lot of money. It doesn't matter how much money you got. 30 million is a lot of money. And so they're giving him, you know, their full support. It isn't just lip service like, hey, take a few pictures, he's our guy. No, they're giving him the commercials, the ads, they're making a clothing line, and they gave him a large contract for this particular ad campaign. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, which is never easy to do. I mean, it's easy to say, okay, we'll take a public beating, you know, on social media by having Kaepernick, show up or, you know, be on the picture. But it's another to say, okay, we're going to do that, but we're also going to invest our money into him and give it to him. And even, not knowing if this might work out in the short term. So whenever you put your resource in it, I don't care how sure of a bet it is, it's some risk you take. And so they assume some risk doing that, which I give props to, because there's a lot of companies that are super risk averse and they would never want to even try to, jeopardize that. So there is a little bit on Nike's side, taking a risk. But overall, this is a play for them to make money, of course, because like I said, you have a lot of people on the extreme where I'm going to just support Nike because they support Kaepernick. Now talking about Kaepernick, let's talk about Kaepernick real quick, because this is the ugly truth that nobody seems to want to talk about, the elephant in the room. While I understand everything around what happened to Kaepernick, I can understand and agree that owners, I wouldn't say colluded, but they decided they weren't going to take that risk. People make it seem like it's some grand scheme where like Trump sat down with all the owners and said, okay, we're going to ruin this black guy's life. That's not how it goes down. It's about money. There's no color more important than green. No one cares. Like black, white, brown, yellow, it don't matter. Green is the most important. If people felt that he could make that money, they would have pulled it. But to an owner, that type of negative backlash from their fan base wasn't worth it. That's a business decision. I'm fine with that. And then as a coach, I understand too that that type of distraction would be a negative to my team. How many things, not just players, but how many different weird things have we seen coaches do in all sports to limit the distractions, to keep their team cohesion and chemistry high? So you telling me not bringing in a controversial player is somehow out of bounds when we've seen people do that before with controversial players in football, or people with baggage or different things like that, and just steering clear of them? Now, eventually someone takes the risk on it, fine, but that doesn't negate that other people said no. So now with Kaepernick, since no one took the risk on him, everyone's acting like, well, it's a collusion, it's a problem. There's a lot of factors to it that I would understand. And then other thing people gotta understand is that talent is king. If you got the talent, you're gonna be worth the trouble, to most people. And so, especially with a guy like Kaepernick, who you know is a good teammate, if he had the talent, then this wouldn't be a question. People keep saying, oh, well, he's good enough to be a backup quarterback. He's better than a lot of backup quarterbacks or third string quarterbacks, whatever. And I understand that, but understand what you're talking about. You're talking about a position, even though backup quarterback is getting more hype right now, but you're still talking about positions that are of less value. The analogy I use for somebody is like, that's like saying you have the best, extra in a movie. This guy's the best extra in every movie. He's one of the top extras in the Hollywood, but he has a super, controversial background. So do we want to bring him in or not? And they're like, well, he's the best extra. So what? It's an extra. It ain't the star of the movie. It ain't the director, the writer. It's an extra in the movie. You could be the best extra, but that position is still replaceable. So Kaepernick as a backup or third string might be on par with a lot of these guys, but it's a whole bunch of them out there to choose from. So why take the added controversy plus bring him in? People understand if this was Cam Newton, this would not be a question. Cam would never left the Panthers. Cam would still be a starting, well-paid quarterback. Guaranteed. This is like talent is always going to rule over. So people get up in arms about, cause I get what the slogan is, sacrifice everything. And the thing I would say is that people also got to take into account what he personally went through. People are like, oh, he's a football player, he can get to play football. So what? I mean, yeah, but you could imagine the terrible stuff he had to go through in his physical life, and then the stuff he gets online, people, his family. Like, people are nasty, and we know that. With lesser things, with movies and stuff. You talking about a real political issue, then I can only imagine the stuff he had to go through. And not only being blackballed in football, but also possibly in broadcasting, other things he might want to do, or things his family want to do. Like, the ripple effects go on. And so while the people want to get into comparing who has it worse, which doesn't serve anybody, if the point is a human being stand up for something he believes and didn't deserve to go through all this stuff. So while, yes, he didn't, people get up in arms like, oh, you know, he didn't get to play football. I'm like, it's because he wasn't that great of a quarterback to begin with. Like, yeah, he went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Harbaugh and the read option, all that had this time. But that's, you know, that's not the next level quarterback. That's not starting level quarterback. And so people like to romanticize, the supporters, I should say, romanticize Kaepernick like he was some great quarterback, or he was on his way to be some great quarterback. And I would definitely disagree with that, because if he was, then this wouldn't be a question. All right. So yeah. So anyway, those are the points. I think both sides have to concede those things, because they're acting as if, you know, like usual, our side is completely right, our side's completely right. And it's not that, it's in the middle. There's a lot of factors that go into it where people just got to understand this isn't about the anthem. And like, it blows my mind that people are still like upset about Kaepernick. So what? And the other thing I tell people is that it's about our society. It ain't even, cause I know people that have sat during the anthem for different reasons than Kaepernick, but their whole life. I seen people not stand for the anthem and all that, not any of that. And no one has ever said anything to not a flare up, not one word ever. But then a celebrity does it. Somebody on national television does it. Oh, well, if I talk about them and I get up in arms on that bandwagon, maybe then people pay attention to me because it's a hot topic. So it ain't even about like people want to get on videos, burn jerseys, burn stuff. Like this about them. This is a fame whore society. People just trying to jump on the hot topic so they can be upset. Cause really, like, what are you angry about? You can't, like, I don't want to hear that. And then people started out saying, oh, well, what about veterans? Why isn't veterans on here? Nike's a sports brand. They use athletes, baby. Like it was so silly. Like you have people, family saying, well, we should have the vet on there or this, that. Like, come on. That now you're just taking it out of context. Like that's not what this is even about. And so we have heard people debate it back and forth about how vets inserted themselves into this conversation, all that. But it's just a miscommunication. That's just like anything else, the internet. Like you see it all the time. I see it all the time. I say one thing and then people take it one way or they only hear one part and then they put their agenda on it and get upset and it's just spirals and it's silly. The man was trying to call attention to something that, needed to have attention to. And then on top of that, you had scores of followers in the league that did it after him and college players and high school players that want to jump on a bandwagon too, to be frank. But not all of them, but a lot of them. But they did it too and they still are cool, but people want to be upset at Kaepernick. It's just absolutely silly. But overall, him joining the Nike, I mean, cool. Like I said, from a business standpoint, Nike, I'm like, okay, that's some smart marketing, way to get ahead of this thing and be forward thinking. As far as Kaepernick, and the other thing people like, oh, he got 30 million. It's not like he's suffering that much. He just got that money. And not only that, look at what he was doing with the little money he had before he left the league. Before you talk, like really, see what his deeds are, because Kaepernick don't come and make YouTube videos or Instagram videos. He don't do press conferences. He don't speak about it. He just goes out there and does the work. And so that speaks more volumes than anything he could say. And that little money that he had, on his last contracts and how much of it was given away. And so he now gets this money in replacement of the money he could have had in the NFL, in replacement of all the money he's given away. And what do you think he's going to do with it? I mean, I don't know. He could be a bad guy, but from his previous actions, like, we think that 30 million is going to go to waste. Not at all. And so blaming him for taking money is silly, and he's more than earned it, I would say. And then shout out to Chris Long too, which nobody even talks about. Chris Long gave his entire salary last year to different, charities and stuff. But either way, he didn't take it home. He didn't take that money home. That dedicated his season to helping out, gave his entire salary away, didn't get hurt, and won a Super Bowl. So shout out to Chris Long too. And these players that really go out there and do it just, for the right reasons, not just to be in front of a camera. So, alright. So that's my thoughts. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the whole Colin Kaepernick Nike controversy. I would say keep it civil, but it probably won't be. But anyway, thanks for listening.